Now, good morning. Pura Vida. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. Thank you for joining us here at beautiful Bali Rika and on the internet. Today's topic is right speech, which means we're going to be talking about talking. And before we start talking about talking, let's settle into a comfortable, stable, centered, meditative posture and spend a few minutes just enjoying sitting together in peace and quiet, something we can all use. Not yet, madam. If you're settled into your body position, clasp your hands, put your thumbs together to form the Buddha's smile, and put your hands slightly below your navel, above your lap, or put your hands facing downwards or upwards on your knees. Straighten your back, drop your shoulders. You're going to be upright but not rigid. And then you're going to close or almost close your eyes. You're going to soften your eyes. No squinting. Then you're going to relax your jaw. Most of us carry much more tension in our jaw, tongue, and throat than we realize. Everyone's eyes are closed, so if you relax your jaw and you find it's tense, go ahead and make funny faces. Wiggle your jaw, stick your tongue out, whatever you want to do. And then move to your neck and shoulders. Let these relax. This is a quick body release. And now we begin to focus on our breath. This meditation is a mindfulness of breathing silent meditation. To be mindful is to be aware, to be paying attention in the present moment with intention, non-judgmentally. That's a lot. It's really go pretty simple. The now is always marked by the breath. You don't breathe in the past or the future. Each breath is a moment of now. So mindfulness, you focus on the breath. It brings you to the now. Your intention is to become quiet, calm, and peaceful. This is a shamatha meditation, and the word shamatha means peace in Sanskrit. So that's your intention. If you're ready, we'll begin, but one last word, which is non-judgmental, is that after we go quiet and we focus on our breath, knowing our breath is coming in and out, and we just feel the breath, observe the breath. We do nothing to manipulate the breath. This is going to be natural breath after a first couple of long ones. You go to the natural breath, and you don't do the breathing. Your body knows how to breathe. You're just going to watch your breathing. And the first thing you're going to notice is that it's very hard to keep your focus. After a breath or two, your mind has wandered off. This is where the non-judgment comes in. Don't touch anything that arises. Just note it. Note the sound of a bird. Note breeze on your skin. Note the emotion. Note the thought. But treat them as if they were insubstantial clouds, just forming and dissipating. All right? Begin with 2 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and after the second breath, Suzanne's going to ring the bell, and we'll have 4 minutes of practice of peace. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth with a sigh. Take another deep breath, pause, release it. Now let your breath become natural, and we are going to enter into mindfulness. Suzanne, hit the dinger again, please, and set the timer. I think that was the timer. Was it?
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes I can't tell from the wind chimes when it's faint. Okay, now the Buddha teaches us that everything that arises from causes and conditions. And this week's topic, right speech, came from the topic given the week before by Michael on the true meaning of prosperity, and the talk before that Jeff gave on gratitude. So last week's talk on generosity just followed along. And in last week's talk, I talked about something we've never talked about before, which is a series of trainings known as the 6 paramitas, or the 6 perfections. They are very similar to, and certainly work with, the Eightfold Path. But the first of the 6 paramitas, generosity, the Buddha considered the gateway to understanding the Dharma, the entry point to the path to enlightenment. He felt it was that way because it was a quality of life that no matter who he spoke to as he went about teaching, they understood it. They felt it. It's a universal quality, condition. And therefore they would be more receptive, less look and see and wait. They'd join in more readily in using generosity as a way to open up to the next teaching that he wanted, say, on greed, or on loving kindness, or on nonviolence. It was a gentle push in the right direction. It was also the first of these 6 paramitas. And now comes the natural progression, because the second of the 6 perfections is ethics, behavior. And the first of the talks on the Eightfold Path, the sections on ethics, is right speech. So we'll begin with that today, and then we can move forward and go back through some more then. Now, right speech is something that has been at war, under heavy combat for the last few years. Every bit of speech that's in the public domain seems to be headed in an antisocial direction. The Buddha says right speech should not be divisive. It should bring people together, not pull them apart. It should be truthful. It should not be based on a lie. It should not be manipulated as with propaganda. It should not be demeaning, unkind, harsh, belittling. And as I say, we've had an overload of all that kind of lack of civility, particularly in my country of origin, the United States. In our own personal lives, we all have experienced the pain of someone who told a lie, or belittled us, or was unkind. We also have ourselves indulged in these things and regret it terribly later on, for most of us. The next aspect of right speech the Buddha talks about is gossip. The danger of gossiping. In World War II, there was a saying, loose lips sink ships. Lives have been ruined by just people gossiping, not even maliciously. So it's better off to avoid it whenever possible and just figure a way around it. Joseph Goldstein, one of the mentors, says that he decided to try for 1 month, 30 days, to not use the third person in his speech, unless it was something factual that had to be said. To have he said it's amazing how much conversation actually will open up without talking about somebody else. It's worth maybe a try, but at any rate, that's that. Non-divisive, non-gossiping. And then he also says that it's really good to not indulge in just idle chatter, just talking for the sake of talking. I do a lot of that. You know, I never met a silence I liked. I mean, you know, you got to jump in there and say something. So I understand that one. But anyway, we all have encountered bad social speech. And I think we are at a point in our culture now where we need to make adjustments. They didn't have emoticons when the Buddha was around. Or if they'd have him, I think he'd have had them in there, because they're the most annoying things to me in the world. Well, I don't know what all those little things are that, you know, that are doing, but apparently somebody talks that way. It's hieroglyphics for the New Age.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Emoticons?
The little smile faces, yeah, emojis.
Oh, emoji.
Emojis, right?
Oh, I had the wrong word. Huh?
Yeah, it is. You're right. You're both correct.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I have trouble seeing them, and I don't know whether it's a cabbage or a smiley face or I don't know what it is. So it's really kind of hard. But anyway, it's a kind of strange new form of communication. And along with it, though, the reason for it seems to be that talking on social media and whatnot, you don't have body language. So I think the emoji, the emoticon, came about to give an emotional tone, sort of like your expression or your, you know, what have you. So it's an attempt. It just doesn't really seem to me to be working very well. But I think it all comes down to this. Buddhism is not a religion per se. It's non-theistic. It's not atheistic. It believes in the spark of divinity, in the universe, in energy. It believes we all have Buddha nature. But it is basically based on ethics. And the Dalai Lama really emphasizes ethics. He has a book called Beyond Religion. And in it, he talks about the facts that we need to come together a lot more on an interfaith basis by recognizing that our ethics may agree even when our beliefs don't. Not lying, not stealing, etc., etc., are common to all religions. They're common to non-religions, to agnostics and atheists and anyone else. So his wish is that we spend much more time on the ethics. And the very first of the 3 sections on the Eightfold Path to Enlightenment, there are 3 sections that are ethics: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. All of these connect to right intention, which is the second step, and right viewpoint, which is the first. So they all go together. The intention, if you're in a Dharma frame of mind, is that we are social animals, and as such, we should not behave in antisocial ways. And that rests largely on developing an entire groundwork of nonviolence, because violence is antisocial. And I think all the religions agree with that, but then they go right ahead and do it anyway. Buddhism kind of believes it more than the rest. So to be nonviolent in your speech. Anybody ever said something that they later regretted? I know I have. And I think as we go through therapies, we discover that people said things that we internalized that messed us up in a lot of cases, or the opposite, that got us to where we are successful. So what we say counts. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam has a wonderful saying: of all the words of tongue or pen, the saddest are, it might have been. And I think we talk a lot before we think about the consequences of how things might have been if we had spoken up or had kept our mouths shut. It's a balancing game with equanimity, as with everything else. Okay, so that really covers the beginning of right speech, except to say that the Buddha thought so highly of it that it is the only step which is included twice in the Eightfold Path. It's all by itself. It's a solo step. Right speech is ethically the number one thing we need to work on. We've got to work on all of them, but he's got it in that position. And it also is one of the precepts, or the 5 ethical areas that lead to civil living. The first is avoid killing. You go back, in case there's anybody here who doesn't know, that in Buddhism there is no word for sin. The word in place of sin is ignorance. Ignorance in the sense of not knowing, or willfully being ignorant. It also does not, I lost my train of thought. It talks about refraining. It doesn't say thou shalt not, because it doesn't believe in thou shalt not. It believes that everything in life is on a spectrum from here to there, from between extremes. And so you can't automatically not do something forever. There may come a time when you have to tell a lie. It's the better part of what you should do. The traditional one on that one is, what if you're hiding people from the Nazis and the Nazis are beating on the door asking, are you hiding anyone? It's time to lie. So they say refrain from. And the first of the ethical precepts is refrain from killing. The second one is refrain from lying. The third one is refrain from sexual misconduct. The fourth is refrain from taking that which is not freely given. Not just stealing. Stealing is a very strong word, but just taking anything that isn't freely given. And the last of the five, which I got out of order a little bit there, is refrain from intoxicants. Not because there's anything inherently wrong with chemicals, but they do change the mind, and the intoxicants cloud the mind. So purely for the reasons that Buddhism emphasizes clarity of mind and heart, seeing things clearly, it wants you to avoid poisons of any kind that will mess up your head. So there you are. Can you ask for people to join in with any comments or questions on right speech?
Yes, if anybody has comments, speak up because we don't have the microphone today. I have a question for you to start off.
Okay.
So in your understanding of this section on right speech, is there ever anything that talks about when not to speak?
That's included in a great deal of it. When to keep your silence.
Because I think that's a very interesting, if you're talking about creating a socially respectful environment, there's a time not to speak.
If you don't have anything nice to say,
don't say anything at all. Exactly.
That's a good
absolutely
phrase.
Good. That's the right thing. I can't think of a specific talk discourse on that, but there's so many of them. I mean, you know, you talk for many years.
I wonder.
But absolutely, it's not what you. Well, I know one. What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. And the Buddha addresses karma at 3 levels: what you think, what you say, and what you do. The weakest karma is thought. Because just as we said at the beginning, if a thought arises and you don't do anything about it, it will just dissipate. So you may note that that's not a thought I really ought to have. Like I'm looking too hard at my neighbor's wife or whatever. So anyway, you take note of it, but it's not a big deal karmically. What you say becomes a very big deal. Because what you say is the cement in your character. What you say to yourself, what you express as opinions, they speak to who you are creating in and of yourself as character. And they are the precursor to the real karmic problem, or not, which is action, behavior. So I don't know if that's
no,
but what you say can or don't say can be more important than what you say.
absolutely, sure.
I'm curious. What does the Buddha say about after you speak and it's not a good thing and you regret it? What comes next? Is it I'm sorry? How do you follow that up?
How do you address it?
And
To the other person?
And to yourself. How do you?
Well,
how
I
do you
think
manage that?
he spends more time on yourself because you don't want to carry forward self-flagellation. You remember the whole middle way was between asceticism that was beating up on yourself all the time and overindulgence. And in the middle, we work with ourselves. We make mistakes. We know we're human. That's why we don't have hard and fast, thou shalt nots, finger pointings this way. We have, refrain from. And if you do it, now where you get in trouble with the Buddha is if you continue. If you create a neural pathway that keeps you doing the same thing that you knew to begin with you shouldn't have done. If you simply can't resist. And you get caught in addictive behaviors because your character is what you do with all of this. So if you've said something, well, my son Ben right now, we've had some long conversations lately. He's in AA, which now people talk about it. And he's been in it for 11 years. And he's now, I think, on the third round of making amends. And he is really interested in the layers that he has gone through over this decade in making amends. So if you say something that you regret, I think the Buddha would say, don't give a phony I'm sorry. Genuinely mean it and do your best not to do it again. But it's interesting, this whole business of correcting the ethical mistakes that we make. Okay.
Sounds like a middle path way.
It is
right?
Definitely a middle path.
Is there's a place, and then to hang with that for a long time is not helpful.
Well, don't beat up on yourself. Awareness is what counts. Awareness, do what you can to change. Don't beat up on yourself. By the same token, don't just blindly excuse yourself and commit the same error again and again.
And also with other people, right? If somebody else makes a mistake with us, then it's good to receive that, but then it's good to let it go. So that's another middle way, both as a receiver and as the giver of a mistake. Good question.
But
Somebody else.
I think we make more mistakes in speech than we do in action.
Yeah.
Really.
Often.
And on the computer these days, fortunately I haven't dove into the Facebook world, but you hear it on the news, people put stuff out there, and that's speech.
Yes.
Don't you think that's where this lack of civility is coming from? That's the source, because they're not face to face with somebody. They would never say the things they say face to face that they say in print.
Right. It's part of
There's a wall in there that makes them, and now they've gotten into the habit of just being. The lack of civility is just, it's kind of breathtaking.
It's almost like, too, that because of the non-face-to-face interactions, it's like I'm concerned that it leads to, and it has led to, in some instances, actions.
Terrible actions.
Terrible actions.
Right.
And not just
Well,
At all
and
at
it's
all
okay
levels.
to be that way.
At all levels, in
Yeah.
the big picture of things, and in our small pictures, yeah, there's a lot of harm that happens.
well, there's tremendous polarization. It really is overweighted on one end. The other one is kind of going like, what the hell, I mean, what do we do about this? But it's extremely divisive. And not to be a pessimist or to be a pessimist, I don't know which. My feeling is that we are social creatures. And if we don't shape up and start acting like social creatures, we could become extinct. We could kill each other off. And maybe we deserve it because we didn't stop it when we had it. It's a little frightening to see the same problems in the Buddha's time 2,600 years ago. It doesn't speak well for our social evolution that we have the same problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're probably not more enlightened.
Yeah.
but we try to be uplifting here.
Anybody else? Question, thought about this? Yeah, go ahead.
Years ago, I used to wood carve for a living,
Mm.
and in chalking out a winery's name, there's a lot of time to really look and think before I commit, and I rarely misspoke when it was slowed down to that degree.
Uh-huh.
And I don't do Facebook, but there is we got into WhatsApp since we moved here for its obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love
There's-
WhatsApp.
Well, there's something there. You hit there's a delay. And it says undo. Well,
Oh, I
that's
didn't
where I
know.
used to be. Oh shit, it's
Mhm.
gone. So just the pause and the slowing down has been a help. Mickey's a writer, and I've observed her downloading here, playing here, and then publishing there. And just that slow transition makes it so much more real and measured, I guess.
Well,
The Buddhists also add the importance of pause. So you talk about those 3 steps. The real magic about doing this correctly is in the pause. Where you have, if you're having a bunch of thoughts, you pause, they consolidate, then you write it, then you pause, figure out whether you want to publish it, right? And so the Buddhists often talk about that. The magic is in the spot between things,
the gap.
the gap.
Now, actually, you have hit upon the third of the paramitas, which is patience. Taking that pause, doing the gap. So each thing one goes to another, and that could be your next topic.
It's
Actually.
probably a good topic. Also, talk often, and I work really hard at self-control. That my immediate impulse to think is not necessarily what I say or what I do next. And so if I have self-control, then in the pauses I can consider what if you pause, you have options. If you don't pause, you only have one answer. And not often, but sometimes that's the wrong answer. It's the unethical answer.
Mm-hmm. Well, along with the other ethics, which we can continue to talk about.
Yeah, maybe let's do that.
We got a little bit of time. Let's take some common speech problems. I have one. Linda ran into it the other day when I couldn't get her on WhatsApp. And it's the thing's there, and I'm punching it, and I said, oh, shit. And Linda says, you said, oh, shit. I said, oh, God damn. I sure did. And that's seems to be baked in to me bad habit.
I don't get that. I mean, I understand that being proper and some people get tense or offended offended by words.
Well, I'm shocked if you do it.
No, you're not. But I too, I share your, I have spicy talk, and it just comes out. It's just the way, and I don't mean to offend people. And in my head, I don't get it. I
don't get why I can't quit either.
Yeah.
So it makes me very compassionate towards other people.
Well, what's wrong with it? Tell me what is wrong with the
Exactly.
word God,
That's
or
what I
whatever
think
it is.
too.
Well, it is a lack of civility.
Is it?
Well, you know, shit doesn't smell very good.
No, I don't. You're not,
You don't want to table
you're
talk
cussing
shit.
at
You know,
yourself. You're not cussing it. You're not cussing someone
Right.
out.
I don't even associate it with anything except.
I want to
it's-
give you a word that my mom says with this. She says, that's unrefined.
That's right. It's
She says
crass.
it's unrefined.
It's
Times
crass.
changing?
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been unrefined, 50 years ago,
But
but
isn't that
we're in a new
judgmental?
world.
Yeah, but see,
Refined-
I'm still living back then.
Refined sugar is not good.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes, I mean, the Me Too movement
Uh-huh.
and grabbing a woman by, excuse my French, pussy.
Doesn't go.
I had to share that with family who were evangelicals who wanted to go that way, and just parroting that word and that phrase did more than
Maybe.
paragraphs and paragraphs. So I don't know. I think it's in.
Well, what
In what way? I wasn't following you.
Yeah, neither.
They took offense to it, or they understood it.
They brought up.
voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah, they brought up politics.
I see.
I had promised I wasn't going to bring it up.
Gotcha.
To make a point,
Yes.
I said, "How do you look at your wife,
Yes.
to my brother,
Yes.
and vote for this person who
Yes.
said he has the right to do that?"
Yeah.
And
Right.
there wasn't a good answer. That
Well,
might have been unrefined, but I didn't know how to make it clearer.
But you know what? You're illustrating something that the Buddha talks about. When you take a wrong turn on the path, then you have to justify it. You get in deeper. Until eventually you have to legalize that which you knew was wrong to begin with, but you've been practicing it, and you know you're not going to stop, so you make it okay when it isn't. I don't know if that makes sense, but it tends to draw you in when you get away from the very simple precepts. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie. Don't drink to excess. Don't deal with sexual misconduct. You go to bed feeling better about yourself, but it does tend to take you down a path where then they have to justify the fact that they have an allegiance to something that they know is wrong. And the corollary to that I see is that they know that it's wrong, and they reveal that they know it's wrong because they blame it on somebody else. If they were not aware that it was wrong, they would accept it for themselves. But they have to say, no, he did it. We didn't do it. But they're going to continue to do it. So we're dealing with some very interesting psychological problems that you can pull back to these early precepts of what is social behavior. And the question for the Buddha, which he always lays on us, ultimately is, okay, so what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? We have largely done what you're talking about, which is not to respond to something that offensive. So exactly what do we do, because it's gotten to be this monster thing. It's eating our society. People are dying because of it. They're dying because of lies that are blatant. They're not even hidden. They're right out there in the open. So can we just sit quietly and do nothing? I don't have the answer to that, and
I think
lovely to hear what
it's
anybody else had to
it's
say.
really tricky. There's a lot of thought now that to be silent is to be compliant,
Well, to a point
and
is.
so that's true. That's true as well. So look how nuanced this
That's
area
right.
is.
This is very difficult.
And so you have to decide in your, if this is the ethics section, you have to decide in your values, will I do something? Will I say something? Will I not say something? And have all, will I not do something? You know, and make and have choices. And then one of the skills is to have the amount of self-control so you still have all your options open to you. That this is not automatic. Like when you talk about using spicy language, it's automatic to you. You've lost.
Because I did it too many times and let the habit
right.
get
You've lost your choice.
But now we're beginning to tell lies. But now we're beginning to tell lies the way I say, "Oh damn."
Right.
That's not good.
That's a bad habit.
Socially, that's not good, and I don't know where it's going. But you know, we had the same. What was the saying about Nazi Germany and fascism? Evil persists when good men say nothing. Because that took a long time. Came up in 1924, and then the year I was born, which was 35, it had been squashed. The burning of the Reichstag was in 1924, and it was a democratic society, and they said, well, we got rid of him. But he popped up again in 1934, and in 1935, when I was born, the Nazis were marching through Poland. They thought being silent and voting him out that it was over with. But instead, so this type of social disorder, and we don't like to talk about politics because we just don't like to talk about it. It's very unpleasant, but it's a fact of life. And we can't solve anything here except to consider what's going on and realize that the karma is at play. It's working overtime now, and we'll see.
So we're after 11. So
all right. Well, I'm so glad to have Jeff home, and I think Karen is here somewhere. Where's Karen?
She is. She's outside.
Hello. She's here, and Michael is back, and it's still a very small group. I guess a lot of people are in Cancun. Everybody's gone to Cancun. That's another topic: is how many well-paid public servants have been derelict in their duties.
Yeah, but that's politics.
Big time. We go to Mars, but we can't turn on the lights in Texas, So we've got a lot of stuff. It's not a simple world. We just try and stay with it. And it all comes back ultimately to creation. And creation is, no matter what your religion, is love. So let's settle down for our closing meditation. We'll do a loving kindness, and we'll loving kind everybody unconditionally. It really helps, because you can get caught up in really being disgusted with people. So you need to pull back and just love them anyway. All right, Suzanne. To yourself, make this unconditional wish. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. Now bring to mind someone you love. Look directly at them. Smile. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now bring to mind your neutral person, someone you don't know well, not intimate, but you know each other by sight and sound. Perhaps you don't know his or her name. They just wait on you at the bank or the supermarket, or they're a neighbor that you've not met yet. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friend. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now bring your attention to someone with whom you are in conflict. Someone you don't like, or they don't like you, or whatever. You don't have to do this for them. You do this for yourself. When you say to them, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now you take a deep breath or two. And you place your hands over your heart. It's a gesture to embrace all beings everywhere. And as we envision 8 billion people on this planet, and who knows how many out there in space, we acknowledge our interconnection and our interdependence. We acknowledge brotherhood, sisterhood. And we say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes Be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now we let these feelings of goodwill sort of sink in. We hope to carry them out from here, take them with us. We can return to loving kindness meditation anytime, anywhere. You can change it, shorten it, lengthen it. It will give you that stability that we need for these really tumultuous times that we're talking about, all the uncertainties. And now, release your hands, open your eyes, put your hands together, go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mysteries. Thanks for coming. See you next week.
Thanks, Ruthie.